Hi everyone, and welcome to a new module where we're going to explore the world of gifted and talented. I know that all of you have probably had a lot of questions and had GT students in your classrooms. Maybe you even primarily teach in the AP coursework world, if you will. But we're really going to sink our teeth into what's the prevalence or the percentage of the population of those students who have characteristics identified as gifted or creative and talented. Secondly, we're going to look at what are some evidence-based practices for accelerating their learning. Third, we're going to look at what are some characteristics of students on the opposite end of the spectrum who are at risk for failing or even becoming disengaged and unmotivated, that is. I think that's critically important, particularly for GT students. I don't know about any of you, but I remember back in first and second grade, I knew my multiplication tables, and so mathematics class was very boring. I wasn't necessarily learning anything that I didn't already know. And we know that when those things happen, kids get more disruptive and bored, and they don't sort of continue to embody those habits of effective scholarship, if you will. And finally, we're going to try to list and describe ways to adapt, accommodate, and modify our instruction to make sure we're considering the needs in a more inclusive way, not only of gifted and talented students, but those who perhaps show some of those signs but don't become actually identified and labeled as gifted and talented. Take, for instance, there are two parts of that GT test. One is sort of visual spatial, if you will, in the mathematics, logical reasoning world, and then the other is more of a verbal aptitude component. And so some people don't necessarily possess prowess in both of those areas, and therefore might not actually be labeled as gifted and talented. In fifth grade, I remember taking this particular test. I did great in the visual spatial component, and then I was one question short in the verbal aptitude because I didn't give a satisfactory answer on what is the word hieroglyphic. So I remember it to this day because it really had that level of impact, and it kind of, in some ways is, something that I think back on, is a chip on my shoulder, so to speak, and I'm here to prove the world wrong, that any of us can really embody excellence, whether or not we receive a particular label or not. And I try to really address that in not only in my own instruction, but in my lifelong learning quest to really impact the greater community. So those are some of the things that we're going to talk about, again, in the gifted and talented world this week. And within this module, you'll also see a number of different readings and also a video of a master teacher, and to see how she does this within differentiation so that every child can prosper to the optimal degree. And so I hope that you'll join me this week in learning more about gifted and talented. I look forward to interacting with you accordingly. Take care.